Okay, well, hello everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of Being Present with Leonard. So let's begin with a very short presence meditation. So close your eyes and instantly be present with your body breathing. That's all you need to know. Your body breathes in, your body breathes out. And you are the one who is present, aware of the body breathing in this moment and in this moment. You're just present with what is here. Then I could ask you, who is present in this moment? I am. That is the awakened you, the I am that you are, the I am presence. Now, it's very distinguishable from when you're speaking of I did this or I am that, from within the mind, within the dream, within the story. I'm feeling hot. I went for a walk. All of this includes, this is a different level of I am. But if you were to say to me, I'm feeling hot, I would ask you to be very, very present with that feeling of being hot. And then I would ask you, who is feeling hot in this moment? I am. You see, I am is the present moment you. It is the awakened you. And as you deepen into presence, you begin to open up into the mystery. You begin to open up into oneness. You begin to open up into the presence of God in all things present. You begin to open up into the experience of heaven revealed on earth. So these are all the wonderful things that can happen as you become more and more present. But presence also can be very, very ordinary, and it can also transform your life as presence, as presence awakens within you. All the qualities of presence begin to flow into your life, and your life begins to transform in the most gentle and beautiful way. You actually don't have to do anything because presence will do it for you. Just simply by being present, all the qualities of presence will flow into your life. And can you not imagine just how much that would transform your life? Because as you become more and more present, you open into love, acceptance, there's no judgment, compassion. You're empowered from within. You're not worried about other people, what they think of you. You're not in any way concerned with other people's judgments, nor do you judge yourself or others. This is presence. It's an entirely different dimension of life. So, the past 2 episodes of Being Present with Leonard, I've been speaking about presence, and you can always go back and refresh your inner knowing by reviewing those 2 episodes. But it's probably time to move a little bit towards step 2 of this teaching. Step 1 is all about learning the art of being present, settling into presence, relaxing into presence, and eventually becoming fundamentally established in presence. It's as if presence becomes your home. The present moment becomes your home. You can still play in the story, in the dream, in the mind, but you don't get lost there anymore. So just staying very present with your body breathing. Your body breathes in, your body breathes out. You are the one who is present in this moment. Now you can open your eyes now and just be present with me. I'm present with you, you're present with me. I am here, you are here. I am present, you are present. And as we come together in presence, we open into oneness. A kind of deep level of communion starts to open up. I love a sentence from somewhere in the Bible, I don't know exactly where, but it reads, when 2 or more are gathered together in my name, there I am in the midst of them. It's very easy to be present. It's very simple and it's always instant. You cannot practice your way to presence. You cannot think your way to presence. You can't be present in the future. You can't be present in the past. You can only be present right now. So it's very easy to be present, not so easy to remain present as you live your life, as you go to work, you engage or interact with your family, your children, your friends. There's always going to be someone or something that will trigger you and pull you straight out of presence, back into the past and future world of the mind, the dream, the story. Within your mind, there is a story that has been unfolding, and that story has been unfolding from the very beginning of conception in this lifetime. It starts in your mother's womb. The story is already at work within your mother's womb, and then it really develops in the first 4 or 5 years of your life. Your story is almost defined and determined. Your dream is almost defined and determined within those first 4 or 5 years. So let me talk about the nature of the mind before I go any further with this. You have to recognize that the mind is like a computer. It really is a kind of computer. And like any computer, it can only function according to how it's been programmed. So we need to take a look at our own minds and reflect way, way back into our childhood. How did our minds get programmed? What were they programmed with? This is very much a part of step 2 of this teaching. We have to begin to understand how our minds are being programmed, because the programming of your mind will affect every aspect of your life. It will affect all your relationships. It can create chaos in your life depending on how your mind has been programmed. It can also create peace and harmony depending on how your mind has been programmed. Now, what is your mind programmed with? I'm just going to very briefly mention some of the limiting beliefs that are programmed into your mind. And if you like, you can raise your hand. I can't see you, but you can acknowledge each of these limiting beliefs that you feel might belong to you, might be programmed into your mind, and in a sense affecting the dream that you're living in year after year. So what are some of those programs that are programmed into the mind? Let's begin with, I'm all alone. When we came into this world, when we were born, when we were conceived, we were very, very, very present. And all we needed was mother and father to be very, very present with us. Then we would have relaxed deeply. We would have realized we've just come out of a womb that got too small for us. And now we're in a vast, much bigger womb called the present moment. But we need others around us to be present so we can relax into this larger womb into which we can evolve, from which we can evolve. So the problem is that our parents weren't present. It's not their fault. Nobody showed them how to be present. It's not their fault. But because they weren't present, it led to these deep, deep limiting beliefs. I'm all alone. There's no one here for me, no one here to take care of me. I'm abandoned. I will not survive if I'm all alone at this young age. These are the very foundational limiting beliefs. Then on top of that, we have another layer of limiting beliefs built upon that bottom, that foundational layer of limiting beliefs. Those limiting beliefs on the next layer up would be, I'm not loved. Raise your hand if you can relate to that. Somewhere deep down within you at an unconscious level, you don't feel loved. I'm not accepted, or I'm not worthy. Raise your hand. Yes, I can relate to that. Yes, I've had that one. How about I'm not good enough, or I can't do it, or I have to please others, or it's not okay to be myself, or it's not okay to know what I want. It's not okay to ask for what I want. There's not enough for me. I could go on and on. There's a huge list of limiting beliefs. Most of them are referred to in my book, Journey into Now, but also some of the other books. So it's worth making a list of these limiting beliefs that might apply to you, that might have been programmed into your mind. Then I'd recommend just reflecting, how have these limiting beliefs affected you throughout the years of your life? How have they limited you? How have they affected your relationships? I don't want you to change anything. I don't want you to try and change anything. I just want you to start to notice and to observe and to connect the dots. Wow, the fact that I have a limiting belief that I'm not good enough, how has that played out in my life? How is it playing out in my life even today? How does that affect my aspirations or my work life or my family life? If I have the feeling that I'm not loved, the limiting belief that I'm not loved, which does create a feeling that I'm not loved, well, then that's going to affect so many aspects of your life. You can spend the rest of your life looking for love from other people because you didn't feel it when you were a child. So you spend the rest of your life trying to deal with the pain of not feeling not loved. So you spend the rest of your life looking for love. And even if 100 people are loving you right now, you're not going to feel it. Why? You're not going to let it in. Why? Because at a much deeper and more unconscious level is that limiting belief programmed into the mind that you're not loved. So that deeper programmed limiting belief is going to prevail over what's happening now. So what do you do about that? You start to bring to consciousness. You start to own and acknowledge and confess these limiting beliefs as they arise within you, or as they very subtly filter into your day-to-day life. These limiting beliefs literally filter through, and they're affecting every aspect of your life. Now, what if you learn to judge yourself? Well, that's going to affect every aspect of your life. Do you judge yourself? Raise your hand if you do. Do you judge others? Raise your hand if you do. We have to start being aware of these things as they arise in the moment. Now, I'll be going into great depth during these next few sessions about how to deal with these limiting beliefs as they affect your life. There are so many aspects to step 2. I'm going to go through and give you a very brief summary of step 2, and then I'll come back in future episodes and elaborate on each of these steps. This will be very brief. Step 2, there are 4 aspects of step 2. Step 2 involves bringing conscious awareness to all the ways you're pulled out of the present moment. It involves bringing conscious awareness to all the obstacles to your awakening. How does that happen? Step 1 leads to presence. Step 2 leads to mastery of your mind and ego. So what are the 4 aspects of step 2 that I share in this teaching? The first is the resistance of the ego. So far, the ego is winning, hands down. If there's a competition between God and the ego for you, guess who's winning? The ego, by a long way. The ego basically has control of almost everyone on the planet. So we're going to have to learn how to deal with the ego. And I can promise you, I have so much to share with you about the ego that you may never have even heard of in the past, or even thought of, or even thought were possible. So I've got so much to share with you about the ego, the resistance of the ego, and how do we overcome the resistance of the ego? That's the first aspect of step 2. The second aspect of step 2. Who have you become on this long journey through time and separation over many, many lifetimes? Who have you become lost in the dream? Because who you have become is very, very different than the truth of who you are. And you won't really recognize and discover this until you become more present, more fundamentally present. Then you'll become more and more aware of who you are in truth. And what are you really doing here? What's the purpose of your life? Why are you here? And I can tell you who you are and the purpose of your life is absolutely magnificent. So we have to start to recognize, who have I become, and contrast that with the truth of who I am. For example, if I am present, I can promise you there is no possibility of judgment arising anywhere within me. If it did arise, I would know instantly it's coming from the dream, from the story, from the past and future. Somehow it's filtering through. So we go through a process of contrasting and comparing. Who have you become with the truth of who you are. And when I speak of who have you become, that includes all your judgments you have of yourself and others. It includes all your repressed feelings. It includes all your limiting beliefs. It's like building an identical picture of yourself. Who have you become in the dream? And the more you can reveal who you've become with love, acceptance, and compassion, the more you will be amazed how quickly you are liberated from the dream. And I share a very, very clear guidance in this regard. So who have you become is the second aspect. The third aspect of step 2 is to the extent that you have feelings repressed within you from your past, how can you be fundamentally present? How can you make that transition to the present moment? Because there'll always be someone who will do or say something who will trigger these repressed feelings. Suddenly you feel angry, suddenly you feel hurt, or you feel needy, or you feel fearful, whatever it is, you feel resentful, you feel angry. All these feelings will come up, but they're coming up from the past. They've been stored within your body from your past. So in this teaching, I demonstrate very, very clearly how to liberate these repressed emotions. It's not healthy to have emotions repressed within you, within your body. It's very unhealthy. It's like living with poisons in your body. Anger is a poison within your body. If you're carrying anger from the past, resentment and blame, they're poisons in the body. Hurt is not really a poison, but we don't know how to be with hurt. We jump immediately to anger to escape the hurt. So we need to learn how to come into right relationship with our hurt feelings whenever we are hurt. Don't go to anger, stay with hurt, be vulnerable and share your feelings. But we'll go into this in a future episode. I'll be sharing with you in great detail how to deal with these feelings. I can tell you the key to it all, the key to everything, is to come into right relationship with your feelings, with your thoughts, with the ego, with the inner child, with all the ways you lose yourself in others. We have to discover what is right relationship. And here's the catch. It's not possible to come into right relationship with any of it until you become somewhat established in presence. And we'll talk about that in much greater detail. So that leaves only the fourth aspect of step 2 for me to cover. Now, this is what happens to all of us. If you have a limiting belief that you're not loved, you're going to spend the rest of your life looking for love from other people. If you feel you're not good enough, if that's one of your limiting beliefs, you'll spend the rest of your life trying to prove you're good enough, trying to impress other people. Look how handsome I am. Look how wealthy I am. Look at my nice clothes. Look at my nice car. Look how successful I am. All of this is really being driven by this limiting belief that you're not good enough. And the irony is, it doesn't matter how many people think you're famous and you're fantastic, you won't feel it, because at a deeper unconscious level, there's that limiting belief you're not good enough. That will prevail until you bring it to consciousness in a certain way. There's a way of bringing these things to consciousness that will heal and release them. So I'll be sharing more of that. But because of these limiting beliefs, and because we're constantly looking for acceptance, approval, am I good enough? Do you love me? What happens is, and this is now the fourth aspect of step 2, what happens is we quite literally lose ourselves in the other. I energetically move away from myself energetically and get mixed up in you if I'm wanting your agreement, if I'm wanting your approval, if I want you to love me, if I want you to like me, if I'm afraid of your rejection, if I'm afraid of your judgments. I'm quite literally energetically moving away from myself energetically and getting mixed up in you. Now, how can I know the truth of who I am if I'm mixed up in you? How can you know the truth of who you are if I'm mixed up in you? Or you're mixed up in all these other people, or all these other people are mixed up in you? Our parents are still mixed up in us. Within the dream, we don't really let go of anything. So what we do is we find ourselves entangled in other people. We lose ourselves energetically in other people. So awakening is about recognizing all the ways we do that and then coming back to ourselves. I am me, you are you, everybody out. Take your opinions out, take your judgments out, take your beliefs out, take your expectations out. I'm not interested in any of them. They belong to you. Don't put them into me. You live with them. Don't put them into me. I won't allow. But here's the catch. I cannot ask you not to put them into me unless I first take them out of you. I withdraw all my expectations. I withdraw all my opinions, my judgments. What right do I have an opinion about you? What an intrusion into who you are. What right do I have to judge you? In fact, if I judge you, let me make it very clear. If I judge you, that has absolutely nothing to do with you. It's a statement about me. It means in this moment of judging you, I am caught in the energy of judgment. You should have compassion for me. I'm caught in the energy of judgment. But the way I escape that feeling of being caught in the energy of judgment is I pass it on to you. If you take it, I'm relieved of that. If I judge you, what it means is I've been judged many times in my past and I'm caught in the energy of judgment, and it's kind of helpful to pass it on. And many people will accept me passing it on for the very simple reason is that they're looking for my acceptance or my approval. So the problem is not me judging you. You have to go back a step or two. The real issue arises not through my judging you and hurting your feelings in that way, but the real issue arises in your needing my acceptance. That's where we all get lost. You don't need my acceptance. You are the energy of acceptance. You don't need my love. You are the energy of love. It's really that simple. You don't need me to awaken you. You are already awakened. You always have been. So what I offer you is guidance into the truth of who you are and the truth of who you've always been. It's like relaxing out of this dream into the truth of life. It's that simple. Now, I know this is stretching on a little more than it's supposed to, but I'm going to answer a couple of questions that were sent to our website. Okay, this first one is from Akasha from South Carolina. Offering great appreciation for your wonderful service and these tremendously helpful or oh so simple episodes. Well, I'm glad you view it like that, Akasha. Here's my question. You teach, never try to fix the dream. Are you implying that in presence we can see through the dream to understand what needs action? In the dream, we perceive an earth that is undergoing changes destructive to organic life as we understand it. Awake in presence, do we become open to possible remedies, even possibly superior to those already proposed? And okay, so that's a very good question, Akasha. Let me tell you, why do I say never try to fix the dream? It's incredibly simple and obvious. The very moment you try to fix the dream, you're saying to the dream, I believe in you, dream, you are real, and I have to fix you. If you try and get rid of the dream, same thing, I believe you're real. If you believe in the dream, then you really are lost and you'll just stay in the dream until something happens that shakes you out of the dream. You know, one of my favorite sayings in one of my books is very simply this: if God can't wake you up, God will shake you up. So be ready, be prepared for a little shake up, unless you're in full cooperation with the awakening process. So that's the first thing. You don't need to fix the dream. You just need to wake up out of the dream. Now, the real reason why we're in such a mess as a human species on this planet is because of human consciousness. Unconsciousness. The reason why there's so much cruelty and abuse, injustice and inequality in our world is because of human unconsciousness. Everyone lost in the dream and thinking it's all about them. When you wake up, it's not about you. You'll discover it's really about everyone except you. It's about everything except you. As you become, as you awaken into presence, it's as if you're illuminating everything around you. You can feel this presence, this illuminated presence in everything around you. Now, I'm not saying all the time, but that is what you can open up to. So In my view, the real solution to the problems we have on planet Earth is awakening. Everything else is kind of a band-aid. Now, we do need to take action, and I'm all fully supportive of activism as long as it's being expressed from a level of presence. But the real solution to what's going on in our world is the awakening of human consciousness. Why would I say that? Because as you awaken into presence, you awaken into oneness. That's all we need. We need humanity to come out of the illusion of separation. We are not separate. In truth, we exist at a level of oneness that is almost unimaginable. We're all very interconnected with each other through presence. It's really amazing how much that's the truth. But when we're in the dream, in the story, in the world of the mind, we experience ourselves as separate. There's a lot to do with our body as well, because our body is separate from other bodies, and we're not present enough to feel the oneness that can open up with each other, but with trees, with flowers, with the sky, everything. We can open into oneness. Now, as you open into oneness with a tree, with another human being, with a mountain, with a goat, with a donkey, with an elephant, at the deepest levels of presence, your sense of yourself as a separate individual being is dissolved at the very deepest levels of presence. So, yes, be activists, do what we can to make a difference in this world, absolutely. But without an awakening into presence, the value of it all is limited. Sooner or later, we have to awaken. This pandemic that we're experiencing at the moment is also part of the wake-up call that's happening at the moment. We humans need to wake up. We're incredibly destructive in our unconsciousness, and we'll bring it all upon our own heads. And I don't mind that so much, as long as we don't bring it upon the elephants, the lions, the tigers, the giraffes, the dogs, the cats, the dolphins, the sharks, the whales, the fish. We humans are destroying all the other species in our unconsciousness. So enough of that. The next question is from Mike from California. Hi, Leonard. My question pertains to Jesus. I was raised in a loosely practicing Catholic family growing up. Years later, I met my wife, who comes from a very strong, devout Christian household. I remember praying every night as a child to Jesus that he'd grant me a wife and my dream job. Sure enough, that all came true. Since growing on my spiritual path, I've become more familiar with the Buddhist teaching and perspectives on life, and they have also helped me tremendously. I guess my concern is that deep down, I'm scared of Jesus thinking I've abandoned him after all he's done for me. I'm scared I'm switching sides later in my life by considering other ways to deeply connect with God, such as the ways of Buddhism. I know this feeling is very rooted in the pro-Jesus conditioned society I've been brought up in, but I believe it's still a major roadblock in my spiritual journey. If you have any guidance, I would deeply appreciate it. Thank you so much. Okay, Mike, that's a very, very interesting question. I really like that question, and it's a very easy question for me to answer. If Jesus thought you've abandoned him after all he's done for you, I would say that is definitely 100% not Jesus. That's number one. Secondly, if Jesus did anything for you, the power that came through him to do anything for you didn't come from Jesus, it came from God. And it was never Jesus's intention when he was actually alive on planet Earth, walking amongst the people. It was never his intention, not one time, to stand between you and God. And I could probably prove that to you just by reference to the Bible and what's written in the New Testament. At one stage he says, why do you call me good? I do nothing. It's all from God. Call God good, not me. I mean, read it. It's there. So Jesus, the truth of Jesus would never say that. In fact, what Jesus would say to you, if you want to know what he'd really say to you, he'd say a small number of things to you. He'd say, if you love me, it's because you are love. If you experience God in my presence, it's because God is within you. There's no other possibility. You cannot experience God other than through God within you. and it will open up within you. And when God opens up within you, when the experience of God opens up within you, and you feel that, you'll suddenly see God in everything around you. You'll feel God. You'll know God is in everything around you. In fact, there's only one place in all human existence where God does not exist: the world of the human thinking mind. Because the world of the human thinking mind is an illusory world, and God is not an illusion. God is real. God is here now. God is this moment revealed. If you want to experience the living presence of God in all things present, then you will have to come to where God is, which is the present moment. That's the problem. We've all disconnected from the present moment. We're all lost in the dream, lost in the past and future world of the mind. We're lost in the story. We've disconnected from the truth of life revealed through the present moment and the truth of love, oneness, God, and heaven on earth. We've disconnected. And what did we do? In our illusory world of separation within the dream over many, many lifetimes, what did we do? We created God in our image to comfort us, which is about as wrong a wrong approach as we could possibly do. We are created in the image of God, not the other way around. But what does that mean? That means your true nature is eternal. Your true nature is pure consciousness itself. Your true nature is eternal isness and oneness. Your true nature is fully awakened, silent, infinite presence. That's your true nature. Just as it was in the heavenly realm before you emerged. The problem is we all got lost and we got sidetracked into all these lifetimes because we got lost in the dream. Okay, so if I were you, I would let go of that approach to Jesus, or even that view of Jesus. Just regard Jesus as one of the most beautiful friends you could ever have. Speak to him as a friend. That's enough. But you did say in your question that that you do pray to God, and that's who you should be praying to. But you can pray to Jesus too. You can pray to Buddha. It doesn't really matter. Both Jesus and Buddha were very, very close. And whatever you, the teaching on Buddha is much closer to the true teaching. The teaching of Jesus, as it is revealed in the New Testament, has been distorted dramatically by those who came later, beginning with Paul. That's another story. Okay, folks, so I've answered the questions. I've probably gone over a little longer than I was planning to. I apologize for that. I hope you're enjoying these episodes of Being Present with Leonard. I hope you'll continue to join me, and that it will lead to healing, to liberation from the dream, and a beautiful opening into presence for you, and also to integrate awakened consciousness into day-to-day life. That's all very important. Okay, so blessings to all of you, love to all of you, and please don't forget to post comments or send us comments. If you want to ask a question, you can send the question. Just go to the website and you'll figure out where to send your question. Also, I'd be very grateful if you would hit subscribe and notification, so you get notified when something's happening, and post a comment and hit like. All of that will be very helpful because of the algorithms of YouTube, of which I know nothing about, but I do know that the more subscriptions there are, the more YouTube spreads it around. So let's wake up the world, shall we? Let's wake up the world together. Okay, so bye-bye for now.